The Detroit Lakes School Board holding a meeting early Monday morning to discuss agenda-related items as well as controversial decisions to ban non-school related symbols, including rainbow items such as stickers and flags. The board then voted on whether to postpone the discussion or leave it as it is. The resolution failed in a tie, 3-3. Interesting, folks. I love this school. This school is full of let's be honest, and the community of DL, Detroit Lakes, my hometown, so no diss. But in all honesty, it's full of a bunch of soft hearts, and I love the people there. I love a lot of the people there who are just like, they're very genuine, they're very sweet, they care, you know what I mean? A lot of these people, though, unfortunately, are shaped like, have you ever seen the Bell guy from that one movie? What's the Corpse Bride? The guy who runs around town and rings the bell. He's shaped like a bell. He's like, really, he's still round, but he's round at the top, and then he rounds out to a bell shape. All these people have horrible, dietary intake. Most of these people, by the way, I do not think there's a person under the age of 40 in here. That or they are all rough 30s. That's like, okay, this is no diss, but we have to be honest. Also, I don't know if there's something in the water, but everybody in this room is a Four Eyes for some odd reason. Or here's another thing. A lot of them have horrific facial hair. I don't know why that is for some reason plaguing this community of people living up north. Horrific facial hair. They can't cut it.
Those kids need to know that there are people in their community who won't shame them.
Okay, let's be really honest. Every woman in this community, I don't know if it's something because of the hard water. I've lived in this community for a long time. I know that there's a hard water issue. I know that it's hard to get shampoo that doesn't make your hair frizzy, and I know that there's like a moisture issue, especially in late August. A lot of these people, you know what I mean? They're pasty white people, so they're very straight hair. It can get a little, crunchy looking. A lot of these people, they look like scarecrows. I don't like to say that, but it's true.
Those kids need to know that there are people in their community who won't shame them.
A really emotional school board meeting up in Detroit Lakes last night. You might remember we told you about this rainbow ban by the school board, essentially banning anything with rainbow stickers, posters, buttons, flags on the school property. They were saying at the time this is meant to keep schools viewpoint neutral, they call it, on social and political issues. But this ban is not sitting well with some people up there. About 100 people came out last night to the school board meeting asking the school board to...
Okay, I'm sorry. I love the representation. I love people going out there trying to speak out in their communities. I love it. It's great. I need someone to speak. I need someone to come up to the podium whose head does not look like it's a part of their body. I need somebody whose neck is not the same width as their head. It's so many of these people. I understand Detroit Lakes, it's a bit of a food desert. I understand not everybody can afford Central Market prices. I understand not everybody is like, I don't want a banana every day. I don't want to eat that for my lunch. I want a Crunch bar or whatever. That's great. I'm sorry to say it. A lot of these people, they're not the types that are going to get like a what's it called? What is the salad where it's got like almonds on it and apples or whatever? They're not going to get that. They're lining up. They're the reason that the intersection has a line inside of it that's leading into the McDonald's.
To essentially change its mind, to reverse course. They said that banning the rainbow symbol can send a dangerous message to their LGBTQ plus students.
A rainbow sticker on a classroom door may save a child's life who's absolutely struggling for a myriad of different reasons.
That's the one thing about people from DL. They're all like, I'm really well read. I'm like kind of an artistic type, and that's the thing, is that they have a lot of the arts, they have a lot of the creatives and whatnot, and it's like they're like, we do ice sculptures during the winter. What does your town do? And it's like, oh my god, you really think you're that fucking special? Everybody can just because our town bothers to fix the potholes instead of dedicating community funds to, I don't know, big designs of we have one pelican statue and we're good, you know what I mean? You for some reason are like, we got trolls and we got new ones popping up all the time. We're just so artsy and we have swingers, and a lot of the teachers here, a lot of these teachers and a lot of these people, they want to signal to their students that this is a safe environment. Don't you know Detroit Lakes? We're like open to a lot of the shit that most people, we have the fishbowl parties. like if you didn't know, a lot of the teaching staff, right? As a matter of fact, right here, you hire many of these people. They're swingers, and they're up to the, some shit. Some of them, may or may not be doing drugs with their students. A lot of them are, functioning alcoholics. We're open to a lot of the things that most people wouldn't be in this community, because we're Detroit Lakes, man. We're just like open to a lot of shit.
As I said, emotions ran really high. At one point, we saw one of the board members broke down into tears here. They did do a vote to delay this ban, but that vote did not pass.
What I like is that Minnesotans, a lot of them wear their hearts on their sleeves. They're sweeties. They are, a lot of them that are like more impassioned. There is still a little teensy bit of that, it's not exactly a cold culture, but there are definitely people that don't want to be hearing about your mental health crises and whatnot. But that's definitely an older generation attitude that is slowly getting moved out by this Gen X kind of like taking, they don't like when their underlings take mental health days, but they have to understand what a mental health day is. That's exactly what they are. This type of generational attitude that is evolving in Detroit Lakes, it's not unusual. It's a very common one. It's one that is shared among people at Lakeside Tavern. It's one that people are like, did you hear that my kid is transgender and whatnot? It's like, good for you. That's fantastic. I'm really accepting, and I feel great about myself, because that's what a lot of Minnesotans do. A lot of Minnesotans, the typical Minnesotan that you will meet, is they're very polite, they're very understanding, and that's a good trait for most human beings to have. That's a good, fantastic trait that I think more people should actually strive to be like Minnesotans in that sense. However, that attitude, it also creates pushovers who get into terrible marriages. It creates pushovers who have horrible interpersonal lives. And as a result, the most interesting things they can do for themselves, even if they don't have children, is show up to a school board meeting and make one of these poor school board attendees cry. Why are you making this woman cry with your impassioned pleas, you monsters?
The Detroit Lakes School Board held a meeting today that drew a massive crowd.
Massive crowd.
Valley News Now digital update. Now, this all pertains to the banning of rainbow flags or other non-school related items at the school itself. That drew 19 people taking to the stand and sharing their opinion.
I'm so sorry for every careless, unaware thing you've read or heard since this policy was created.
Minnesota education has lost their focus on student education.
Just check out how many were able to show up this morning at 7 a.m. The Detroit Lakes School Board calling a meeting and addressing their decision to ban non-school related symbols that included no rainbows or rainbow flag, along with other school agenda related topics. The 19 speakers had 5 minutes to address their concerns, many of them urging that the rainbow sticker is a source of welcoming.
Those of us who have rainbows are the ones who show safe spaces for the kids who wake up every day afraid.
I'm just going to be let's get low key. All right, Detroit Lakes, this open community, this really gracious attitude. It's great. It's very Colorado. It's very like, we're just this community that's tucked away next to a mountain that's like not really a mountain, but we call it Detroit Lake Mountain, but whatever. It's a fun attitude and whatnot, but we have to get serious when we're talking about LGBTQ-isms and whatnot around the issue when it comes to children. We can get as serious in this conversation as you'd like. However, discussion around sexuality when it is not in a purely a historical or a social studies context is really inappropriate. I'm sorry to say that. To save it for the school counselor, you can have people are saying the teacher. Well, what if they want to? What if the child wants to come to the teacher and talk to the teacher about being gay? What if the kid wanted to come to the teacher and talk about their heterosexual feelings? Would that still be like a very cozy lane of conversation for you? Or would you rather they take that to a psychologist or the nearest thing that we have to that at a school, what's it called? Is a counselor? Exactly. I was about to say resource officer. It's like, what are they going to do? Pull a gun on the kid? Why are you giving me Google Chrome? Shut up on the notifications. But folks, Detroit Lakers, whatever you want to call yourselves, there's an issue to be held. There's there's conversation to be had around it. But the ultimate, if you want to boil down the issue, which we always love to do on the show, if you really want to get to the nitty gritty, it's inappropriate. You're talking to somebody who has an issue with prom. I've always thought that is a heteronormative weirdo idea where it's like, why are we creating this like scenario where it's like, oh no, we hate teen pregnancies, but we're going to give kids an opportunity to, come in, sit at this dance party together where, yeah, sure, we'll give them a breathalyzer in the 2010s eventually, you know what I mean? We'll give them breathalyzers and check to see if they're drinking, but otherwise it's like once they leave school grounds, they can do whatever they'd like, but we're going to have this really, it's like you can get dates, and we're encourage kids to get dates, ask someone to the prom. It's such a weird, why? Just because it's like, oh, it's like dating. You always date when you're in high school. Why do we always date when we're in high school? Why do you encourage the idea that dating is in any way appropriate for a school environment where it's purely supposed to be about education? I'm sorry, listen. I know that people will go, what about third spaces? Kids don't have anywhere to hang out anymore. They don't go to the mall. They don't do any of this. That's a parenting issue. If you're allowing your kid to sit on the TV all day rather than go to the mall, that's an unfortunate you issue. If you're not creating the scenarios where it's like, oh, I made a friend at school, can I go hang out with them here? It's like, okay, yeah, I understand that you're afraid that they're going to end up in some billionaire's dungeon. I would normally say like some randos, like I would say a white van back in the day. It's now a billionaire's dungeon. I know that you're worried about that. Get Life 360, do whatever it is you need to do. You have every technology available to you to ensure that your child is going to be fine. You are going to be okay. There's a lot of reason to be scared of this world, but there's also a lot of reason to be comfortable with it. And many people need to acknowledge that the idea that school is an environment for kids to find dates, for kids to be dating, for kids to be forming any sort of relationship beyond friendship is inappropriate. And if it's a discussion of heterosexual relations or homosexual relations, it should be treated the same exact way, where it's a very deeply personal issue. It's not anything that you should be discussing with your teacher, regardless of like, oh, who do you have a crush on or anything cute like that. That's inappropriate. I know that everybody wants to be like, well, no, like what if I just like, what if the kids like to come to me with their things? What if the kids like to, you sound like Haley Beck. You sound like one of these teachers that's like, I really enjoy the idea of like, I'm not just an educator, but I'm also like a sort of counselor. You should have gotten into the counseling business if you wanted to be a counselor. Folks, you can say whatever you want. You can have an argument over the rainbow flags. You can do whatever it is you'd like. I do support the school board's issuance. I support the decree. I support all of it. I do, unfortunately. Like, you can have an issue with it. I don't believe that school is the environment for that.
Others
think what you want.
Of the message, citing it can make other students uncomfortable to address their own thoughts.
The intention of the teacher placing a pride sticker on the door hindered a couple of students from talking with them about the struggle they were facing. Thankfully, the teacher had earned the trust of those students, and after a moment of encouragement to share, the students had a good conversation with said teacher.
Interesting enough, things got contentious, not while the citizens were up to speak, but it was between the school board members after they were done speaking. Looking in on the verbiage of what the motion is, and there was some confusion amongst the school board members themselves, but they ultimately voted on whether to postpone this discussion or leave it as is. That ended up in a 3-3 failed resolution, so as far as we know, the ban on rainbow flags and stickers remaining in place.
Yeah, of course it is going to. I'm not too terrible surprised about it. And it's fine if the citizens, they can sound off on it. This was their opportunity. Unlike data centers where they normally have no opportunity to sound off, they had every opportunity to sound off here.
Do better.
Do better.
Those of us who have rainbows are the ones who show safe spaces for the kids who wake up every day afraid.
I'm sorry, as a teacher, I don't want you talking to the kids like that. That's weird.
There's a difference in extending a hand of friendship and the promotion of a social and cultural agenda. This is why it's important that we provide a safe place in our schools for all students, and be careful not to promote and set aside a certain group of students at the expense of the whole.
I want to clarify that our educators are not providing instruction implicitly or explicitly on the LGBTQ+ topics, nor are they advocating for any specific lifestyle. Our focus remains steadfast on ensuring student safety, fostering character development.
The point of the rainbow stickers is to show acceptance. When I was in high school, there were just a few classrooms that had those stickers, and they meant a lot to me.
All right, I'm going to be so legit, and this is one of my favorite things that I've ever done. It's actually still on my Instagram. I'm so proud of it. There was a thing where, like, GSA, is it the Gay Straight Alliance? I forget whatever I think that's the exact, what is the abbreviation? There you go. And they were at my school. They were very active, and they had, like, a LGBTQ whatever day. And I thought that it was reaching. I didn't want to go to school for it. I thought it was a little ridiculous. And this is as somebody where I was, like, into men at this time. More so than I am nowadays, given the fact that I am in a committed relationship, you kind of lose eyes for a lot of individuals. You know what I mean? You can still appreciate beauty when it's out there, but in general, it's not like you're not thinking about people the way that you were when you were hormonal. You know what I mean? Where it's like, oh, the person's so hot. That's such a. In all honesty, I cringed hearing myself say that because I'm not the type of person to even have the thoughts like that. I was never like this. Like, what did they try to paint in that '70s show where it was like these, teenage life is all about like just looking at girls and like thinking about Playboy and all this stuff. It's like, what? Were people just overly perverted back in the day, or is that just like an over-exaggerated version for comedy? Even still, the subject of the show was kids. It was a little weird. It was a little goy sloppy, but like whatever. I still love that '70s show. Hello, Wisconsin. I get it. That's not my original point. My original point was GSA. This all goes back to GSA in the story, where essentially these people were having a gay day or whatever they wanted to call it. I forget. You can literally find the posters on my Instagram. It's up there. It's available. And people were running around because it's a relatively conservative area, which I'm happy about. I'm glad that there's a mix, of hyper liberal individuals, likely from the cities area, that have moved up north, and the usual population that is just sort of like, yeah, we don't mess with that shit. If they don't have accents like that, they're like, yo, we don't mess with that shit. Nuh-uh. That's like if they're Indian. Like, I'm trying to get their accent correct. We don't mess with that shit. No, god damn it. That still sounds too resi. Yeah, I'm gonna get it one day. Ladies and gentlemen, I was like, whatever. I think that it's ridiculous that these kids were running around and they were tearing down the posters. And I thought that it was like, whatever. It's like, you can have whatever feelings you want around it, but it's still douchey to tear down these posters. So I posted on Instagram, hey, whatever redneck fucking losers are doing this, I hope you know that you are one. And then, I get a text eventually on Instagram one day, and it's this rando account where it's, somebody apparently from my school. And, I check their Instagram, I look at it, and it's like, okay, they look pretty legit. They look like they have photos around the area and whatnot. And then I go like, okay, what is this? And then she goes, hey, I just want to let you know there's some guys that like want to, maybe beat the shit out of you. They've been talking about coming after you. And I go, okay. That's cool. I was in my English teacher's class at the time. I remember I went up and I was like, hey, I just got a cool text. Can I head out? And he was like, all right, sure. I don't really know what this is all about. But I was like, I just need to leave early. And he was like, sure, I guess. He was one of the cooler guys. He was really legit. I think he was 10th grade through 12th grade. I don't know if I had him my 12th grade year, but 10th through 11th grade. It doesn't matter. But he was legit. He let me go and I got into my car and it was perfectly fine. Nothing actually happened to me. But it was weird. It was weird to have, people glaring at me. It was weird to have people mad at me for whatever that was. But I was a provocative person. I love to be provocative, and that's one of my favorite things about myself is I always like to ruffle feathers. Do not let me into chicken coop.
The teacher placing a pride sticker on the door hindered a couple of students from talking with them about the struggle they were facing.
Really?
Thankfully, the teacher had earned the trust of those students, and after a moment of encouragement to share, the students had a good conversation with said
conversation.
You removed protections from my child and children that I love?
Children? I'm going to be honest with you. If you really love those children, you should do better to eat better so that you really stay around for as long as those children will need you. Because with the way that you're looking right now, it looks like you're going to conk out at maybe 60-something. I'm sorry. Your heart looks like it might be struggling under a lot of this weight. You got to lose the bingo wing.
How dare you do better?
You do better. How about you go work out, you pig? All right, ladies and gentlemen,